Welcome to Lead and Follow, a podcast that explores how great collaboration actually happens. I'm your host, Sharna Fabiano, author of the book Lead and Follow, The Dance of Inspired Teamwork. And I'm pleased to bring you the latest research, insights, and learning methods to help you work together better with the people around you. I help founders, solopreneurs, and new leaders become great at collaborating because I've seen how much more becomes possible when people integrate their ideas, perspectives, and strengths in a practical way. To learn more about coaching with me and for a one-time discount on your first session, go to sharnafabiano.com/coaching and enter the promo code podcast. The link is in the show notes. And now, here's the episode. Today, I'm talking with two guests, Laurie Greenberg and Blaise Barshaw. They're calling in from Spokane, Washington. And Laurie and I have a collaborative history together. We co-created a series of tango retreats for women at Brighton Bush Hot Springs way back in 2011, which I can't believe is like 10 years ago. I'll just ignore that. Together, Laurie and Blaise are a super inspiring and creative couple. Both of them are lifelong artists and makers in a variety of mediums, and I'm really eager to chat with them about how they lead and follow together. Laurie and Blaise, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Sharna. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's start by having you each share a few words about your own work. Laurie, why don't you go first?
Well, I feel like my creativity started when I was just a little girl. I have been around creatives my whole entire life. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents when I was little, and my grandfather was a builder. He built furniture. He built 3 houses. He was a fisherman. He carved and painted his own fishing lures. My grandmother taught me how to knit when I was about 6 or 7, and the journey has not stopped. I spent so much time with them as a little kid. So we were always making and doing. And my entire family has always worked with their hands. So I've been around tailors, musicians, artists, painters. So the journey goes.
What an incredible environment to grow up in. And Blaise, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, unlike Laurie Ann's experience, I grew up, I've been a drawer mostly when I was just a little kid. Since I can remember, I draw, I do, always working with my hands, but I grew up in an environment where there really was no other creatives around me. So I was kind of the oddball in my family because everybody would just they didn't quite know what I was thinking. Like, it was just like, okay, that's Blaise, that's Blaise. And so, but I kept myself so busy. I love to draw. I've done just about everything that I could self-train myself, basically, like airbrushing and silk screening and animation. And right now I'm doing some paper cuts with lights in them, which is a lot of fun. And it gives a whole different look to a piece of art when you add light to it.
Thank you for sharing that. One thing that you've told me over the years is how well you work together. And I know that you've collaborated on many things. And so I wonder if you just speak to that a little bit. What is working well together mean for you?
I'll jump in on this. I think when you put 2 creatives together, something sparks an idea. Blaise is great at asking questions, and we just have a great conversation going back and forth. I might come up with ideas. I come up with ideas all the time. Blaise plays on that, and we can just walk back and forth with the idea. Something that I say or an idea that I have, he will feed off that. And then something he says that might spark another idea in me, I go back. So we have this sort of back and forth with just creating something.
It sounds beautiful. And an idea is sometimes put in like the leadership zone, is like that kind of original inspiration. And then the hearing of the idea, right, then sparks another idea. And so then it would be like you switch roles and go back the other way. And I can totally see that as a lead and follow metaphor on the idea level. What do you think about that, Blaise?
Well, it's kind of funny because Laurie Ann is full of ideas. She's like remember those old movies like the ticker tape where it would just go shh, just keep going. Like she wakes up in the morning and like before I have my first cup of coffee, she says, "Hey Blaise, I have an idea." And then and then but it's probably not one idea. It's probably more like 10 ideas for the morning. And so I'm more of an analyzer. She just like throws them all out there, like just lets it out. And then I feel like I have to kind of like reel a few of them in, the ones that have hope. I mean, I don't want to squash her enthusiasm and her ideas, but I mean, literally, she can come up with hundreds of ideas in a week. And we all know we only have so much energy or time to do them all. And so I'm more of she calls me the but man because I'm always, I'm the one that has to say, well, but. So we work good that way. And I find it very inspiring that she has so many good ideas. It's just, it's amazing to me. I mean, I've never known anybody who had so many ideas coming out of her all the time.
I've also heard you say that you support each other a lot in your respective creative work. How does that materialize, or what does that look like?
We're extremely messy creatives. The house can look like an explosion. And I think we both understand that. And if we can let the place get messy when something happens, like literally there's stuff, it can get everywhere in the house, outside the house. It's all over the place. And I know when Blaise is into a project, I just have to let him go. And yeah, it can be in the middle of the living room. It can be on the front lawn. It can be in the garage, or it's in all those places simultaneously. And I know how messy I can get too when I'm trying to create something. So I just really respect that for him and how intense he gets on a project. So I really have to let his creative process run however it goes. And he does the same thing for me.
Me and Laurie Ann have the same types of like life goals. Maybe not the exact same ones, but we have kind of the same moral compass, and we know where we want to be, sort of. I mean, we work really well because there's not this internal fight going on, like on the big things we're pretty solid on, like the things that people get in trouble with in a partnership. There's like money and family and all the big things that can get in the way, and we're really in tune with each other, and we're both going in the same direction. It might be a wobbly direction, but we know where we're going, what the end game is, sort of, in a way.
Those are really tremendous observations. I think you've got to kind of come together on those shared values, and then so much else falls into place. I want to ask you about a concrete project that you have. I know that you have something new going on called the Camp Taps. Will you tell us what that is?
Well, Camp Taps is an idea. Well, we didn't think of it because we're from Portland, Oregon. We moved to Spokane about 3.5 years ago now. And in Portland, they have these carts, like food cart pods, where a bunch of food carts are together. And usually there's one with just beer in it. And I thought that was always such a cool idea. And it goes all the way back to the first time I ever went to a brewery in Portland, when they changed the laws in 1984. And I found out about this place where they made beer and you could actually drink it in the same place. And oh my God, I called my brothers up, my big brothers, and said, we're going to this place. They make beer and you can drink it. And, we ran out there and we had these beer, and we're like, oh my God, this is such good beer. But this place could be so much more cooler inside. And it could just be more fun. And so it's been in the back of my head since then. But anyway, so we came to Spokane and we thought, let's open a beer place. And so I thought about this trailer thing. And then I found out that Washington laws don't allow beer out of trailers. So we've been working with the Washington Liquor Control to see if we can get it done.
It sounds very fun. And I think it's going to be like the perfect thing, right? This coming year, right? As everyone's wanting to come back outside and reconnect. And I just see that as a beautiful community anchor. I would love to hear a little more about, how you kind of went back and forth, during this development during the development of this project. How did you each contribute to it in different ways?
This vision has had many, we've just had to keep reformulating and reformulating. We actually went to the city with our idea, talked to a panel of about 10 or 12 people. And this was before the pandemic. And they literally just said, the week before, they literally said, no, like, you just can't do this. So through the course of this whole year, we just keep talking about it, having our own space, creating a place with community and art. And it just has been reworked and reworked and reworked many times. And I think it's just kind of going back and forth. And Blaise is amazing with design. The trailer idea came up when a friend of ours wanted to sell her trailer. She had an old 69 vintage trailer and we bought it. And it just kind of kept working this idea. And we had applied for the liquor license and originally they said no. And Blaise got pretty upset on that phone call. And I just kept saying they're trying to help us. Let's just not say no. It's going to be a yes, but we just have to keep working the project and reformulating it and asking lots of questions. It's not a no.
I hear something really interesting in both of your descriptions, and I wonder if you agree on this or if you want to fill it out a little bit more. That there's something about being a creative or being an artist that you're always kind of like in dialogue with yourself about, okay, what's the idea or what's the 100 ideas? And then let's filter those. And so then there's another idea. And then I go back to doing, and then I kind of reflect on that. And I wonder what you think of this almost internal lead and follow of the creative process, where there's an idea and then you follow the idea and then you just keep doing, you keep working on it, as you'd said. And then that kind of leads to another idea or decision. And then you kind of do, or, go into the process of that for a while, which for me feels more like following, right? The doing of it or the process of it. And then there's another decision. And then I don't know, that's what it's sounding like to me. But what are your thoughts on that?
I think that we both do that. And then we come together. I just refuse to take no for an answer. So I keep reworking it in myself. And I think Blaise has that same process. And then Blaise will always say, what about this? So we have that sort of, he goes to his corner, I go to my corner. I'm trying to process in my own brain, how can we make this work? But I think we're coming at it at two different places. where Blaise is kind of technically working at it. He's drawing, he's making a schematic of how the trailer is going to go, how we have to have the building on it. And I'm sort of working it from another angle. But we both kind of come back together after we've gone to our respective corners.
I like that. It's like you're kind of sharing both the following and the leading, right? You're sharing the doing, you're doing different parts, like you're both kind of following in different ways, as you said, like in different domains. And then you come back and make the decision together, which would be like the leader function. Is that how you feel it? I don't know, Blaise, what do you think of this process?
Well, as a creative, it's kind of, you're a leader, and if it's a project you're working on, like when I do an art piece, I have to think about what I'm going to do first, and then I have to give that up and let like the following me do the plan. So that's kind of an artist. You have to do both of them. So when you get two artists together, I think we understand that theory of you got to have a plan and then you got to put it to work. And the plan can't be over complex. I mean, we all have great ideas about how big things can be, but sometimes it's easier just to bring it down, scale it down. It's doable. Let's do it. So together, we both are used to doing that. So when we do it together, it's a lot easier to do, I think.
Yeah, I like the way you described that. And I also I can see that in my own personal relationship as well. It's like, okay, we might have an idea of what this life together is, but we have to then do it and sometimes hit some speed bumps to then realize, oh, okay, what we really want is this, right? We'll clarify our values or our goals together, just like we would making a painting or making a trailer, and then once that's clarified, then you kind of do and make more. And in the making of it, that reveals another question or something else that might need to be clarified. I'd love to hear, do you have more thoughts about that, either the creative process or the life process?
Blaise he asks a lot of questions. He really wants to get down. He wants to know every single aspect of a project, or if he doesn't understand something, he will research it, which I really appreciate in him. He has a list of questions. Yeah, I really respect that. And I know he's just gonna get down to the bottom of something, or he tells me, ask a lot of questions, make sure you know this or XYZ. So especially when we were working with the liquor board, he's like, why can't we do this? Why can't we do this? What's the rule? Why this? Why that? And I think that's why they said yes to us, because we weren't going to take no for an answer. And Blaise just kept asking questions.
Yeah, that's a very powerful tip, just that itself, right? That wherever you might be in your life, in your work, is to ask more questions, until you're clear. And you could ask yourself questions, or ask a liquor board questions, or ask your partner questions. I think that's, it seems simple, but, you've just given such a great example of why it's so important.
Yeah. And Laurie Ann's so good at seeing possibilities. Like in the case of the liquor board, I wanted to know the exact facts, where's the rule? What code is it? Whatever. And she just had to tell me before this big, one of our telephone calls, an important one. She goes, Blaise, you can't start off that way. You gotta just mellow out and just try, don't get mad. And she's totally right. And I know that. But I respect her enough to dial it way down. And if I didn't respect Laurie Ann as much, I might just override her suggestion. But I know enough now. I've seen the results of being more collaborative and positive can get you results better sometimes than just the direct by the book method.
I'm always saying you got to connect first. You have to connect with, it might be the liquor board, but we still have to connect with the people that work there. We have to build a relationship, and this is it's a collaboration till we get to the place where we've created something.
Yeah, beautifully said. I mean, that takes me right back to my dance experience, like you would never just jump onto the dance floor with a stranger and like throw them around, or push them over. Be like, okay, there's a human being here. Let me acknowledge that humanity and connect with that person and then see what we can do together. And it's not easy to do that when you're, in front of something as institutional as a liquor board, which has the power to, give or take away your dreams, I imagine.
I'm always saying they're just doing their job, but we still have to, connect with them.
Yeah. And we have to dance. And when you did that, I mean, it worked. Like, I think it's amazing that the first answer was no, just no, unequivocally, like no discussion. And you're like, okay, now we're in a dance. Now we can start the process, right? And that artistic sensibility is to know that there's always more possibilities, right? No is not necessarily no, just no for today. And let's see what else could be there. And you just, stayed in it and kept asking questions. And there's a sort of mundane kind of magic about that, I think, by approaching these things creatively. Part of my goal with this podcast is to help listeners understand and recognize how this, leading and following works, and especially how following aspects are important, right, alongside the leading. So, in this case, it'd be like the classic leading role here is like to make the decisions and set the rules and set the structure. And, we can respect that. And the following side of this dance is more like asking those questions and figuring out how to move within constraints, right? And kind of creatively interpreting the rules, maybe in this case. I'm wondering if you have any suggestions for people who might be less familiar with following, who might never have danced before and want to just try it on. Like if you were going to be a really great follower to someone, either, in your life or in your work, like what would you suggest?
I think it's really about listening, like really listening and not getting yourself ahead of that, like listening. I mean, both parties have to listen. That's like the first thing that I come up with is really, let each leader and follow finish an idea. And then, it's a back and forth and just really listening to each other.
You have to do both at different times. You have to be a leader and a follower. You can't be the boss all the time. You're not like a sergeant in the army, yelling at people to do stuff all day long. You can't do that. You have to be able to know when, like in our case, let's say the trailer thing, like if I have to buy some 2x4s, I'm probably better to figure that out than Laurie Ann, and I know it. And I wouldn't even go and bug her and say, "Hey, how many 2x4s do you think we need for this project?" Because she'd be like, "That's that's not my deal." So so you have to know the strengths of your partner and work with them, but you're going to have to go back and forth. Sometimes they're going to have a great idea and you need to follow. Sometimes you're going to have a good idea, they need to follow, but you have to be comfortable in shifting roles on the fly. And sometimes I think it's hard for people to get out of the always following, always having somebody tell them what to do, or the person who's always, the boss and thinks that, that everything needs to go through them before anything can happen, that kind of train of thought. So we're really good about going back and forth.
You are. I totally hear that. And I wonder if I could even just push on that a little more. Like, what is it do you think makes it not only possible, but natural for the two of you to switch, back and forth? I mean, you'd mentioned kind of respect for one another's strengths. So is there anything else that you feel like is like a key to that?
I think also, being self-aware, I think that's one thing that Blaise is really good at. He can take a step back and say, yeah, I'm kind of doing that. And I hope that I do that as well too. So we can really sort of stop and to kind of self-reflect and take a look at, like, we both ask ourselves, okay, what was my part in that when it fell apart? Blaise is awesome at doing that. And I think I do that as well, that we can, or, knowing right away when, oh, that didn't work so well. Can I leave and come back in and try that again? So I think that's really helpful for us because we both can self-reflect on when things don't work out.
I think that's a great observation. My partner, my life partner, and I have this device we've invented. We just call it the do-over. So if one of us says something and it doesn't go well or upsets the other one, we just say, okay, do-over. We're just going to delete that and do it over again.
Yeah, I have a kind of a funny story about that. Is like right when I first met you, Sharna, was when me and Laurie were pretty new together, and she told me about what you and Isaac would do with your checking in every month, or like a monthly check-in, And I thought, that sounds crazy, but we started doing it, and it really helped out because it was like our chance to just like, okay, you got an issue, did this month go okay, or was there an issue? I don't like confrontation very much, so I tend to not want to address problems probably as fast as I should before they become irritating and cause bigger problems down the road. So we do that, and it was really refreshing to me because then I could bring, if there was an issue, I could bring it up before it was really huge yet. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it seems like such a silly little thing, but we did that for a few months, and it just made it kind of a habit now that if something comes up, I can say it quicker now. And that was from you, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I had forgotten about that moment too, but it was very similar for us. It became a habit, right? And it's like we opened this, I would call it like a safe space, It was like we collectively sort of led each other into this safe structure, right? Which I think of as a leader type job, is creating a frame or structure. Like when you give yourself, I'm going to paint this series of paintings. It's going to have like this size and these materials, so yeah, so we kind of created this structure for ourselves to speak, right? And the speaking and the sharing is maybe more of like a follower type behavior. And then we can both do that within that structure, and it becomes this thing that builds connection, trust over time.
Exactly.
Well, I want to thank you both for sharing your insights. Here it's like there's so much between the artist way of being and the way of being in life and even in business as you launch this new awesome project. I want listeners to be able to connect with you. So would you maybe share where they can see more of your artwork, what you're working on right now, what's for sale, and then where they can find out about Camp Taps?
For me, I have we have 4 Instagram accounts. You can find my fiber art on Roving Goddess, at Roving Goddess. My painting and other creative side is Laurie 58. And our trailer, you can follow our trailer journey at Camp Taps Spokane. And that's also on Instagram. And Blaise is at Blaise Barshaw Art.
Great. We're going to put all those in the show notes. So please check out this amazing work and get some more Laurie and Blaise in your life.
Thank you so much, Sharna. This was great.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thanks a lot.
You have been listening to the Lead and Follow podcast. Special thanks to Glover Gill for composing our music. And a huge thank you to all of you who support the show. It really means a lot. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or consider joining the Lead and Follow fan club for as little as $3 a month. There's a link at the bottom of the show notes.